In every generation, there are people who refuse to stay silent. Today, we have voices like Charlie Kirk, Meddy Hazen, Andrew Tate, and Piers Morgan, figures you may agree with or not, but one thing is certain, they are outspoken. They say what others are afraid to. But long before podcasts, cameras, and viral interviews, there was a man who spoke louder than all of them. In the 1960s, the boxing world was filled with giants: Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Sonny Liston, Floyd Patterson, and Ken Norton, all of them great champions. Yet, decades later, one name still echoes louder than any punch thrown: Muhammad Ali. Why? Because Ali fought for more than titles. He fought for his people. When his black community suffered under racism and injustice, he did not stay silent. He didn't just speak through microphones or press conferences. He stood his ground, defied the government, and paid the price for his beliefs. He was stripped of his titles, banned from his sport. And yet he did not stop. Because to Muhammad Ali, being a champion was never about how many times you hit, but how many times you stand back up when the world tries to silence you. This is the story of the greatest, a fighter not just in the ring, but for the soul of a nation. Louisville, Kentucky, 1942. A segregated America. Signs of whites only and colored marked doors and water fountains. Opportunities for people of color were scarce, dreams even scarcer. But in a small wooden house on Grand Avenue, a baby named Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. was born, a child who would one day change how the world saw strength. Cassius's father, Cassius Clay Sr., was a mural painter, proud, outspoken, and unafraid to speak about injustice. His mother, Odessa, was gentle, spiritual, and deeply moral. Together they built in their son a balance between pride and faith. That foundation became the moral spine of the man he would later become. At age 12, a thief stole his bicycle. Furious, young Cassius ran to a nearby police officer, who happened to run a boxing gym. The officer, Joe Martin, told him, "You better learn to fight before you go looking for him." And so, with fire in his eyes and innocence in his heart, Cassius Clay stepped into a boxing gym, not to become a legend, but to get revenge. Destiny had other plans. He trained relentlessly, driven by something deeper than talent, a belief that he was meant for greatness. Soon he began winning amateur bouts, dazzling audiences with his speed, grace, and unmatched confidence. By 1959, he had won 2 national Golden Gloves titles. And at just 18, he represented the United States at the 1960 Rome Olympics, winning gold and returning home a national hero. But when he tried to eat at a segregated restaurant wearing his gold medal, he was turned away. That medal, symbol of honor and equality, meant nothing in the face of racism. It was a moment that cut deep, one that planted the seed of the man who would one day refuse to bow.
You told a story about coming back from the Olympics with the medal. Did this make you a very big man in your own hometown? Did it completely change your life?
Made me popular for a few days, but I wanted to do something good with it. So I went downtown. At the time, black people was marching to eat in the white restaurants, and they wanted rights to go where they wanted to. And so I said, I'll take this medal and I'll go downtown and I'll sit down at a restaurant. I got them on the spot now, and then I'll order something to eat. And I went down and I had my medal on, and the lady was looking, and I said, I'd like a cheeseburger. She said, we don't serve Negroes.
By the early 1960s, Cassius Clay was no longer just a fighter. He was a showman. He taunted opponents in rhyme, predicted the round they would fall, and danced in the ring like no one before him. He was electric, bold, poetic, unstoppable. When he defeated the fearsome Sonny Liston in 1964, the world gasped.
I must be the greatest! I shook up the world! I shook up the world!
But behind that confidence was transformation. Soon after the fight, he announced his conversion to Islam and his new name, Muhammad Ali.
Cassius is not my name no more.
He rejected Cassius Clay, calling it his slave name, and declared his loyalty to faith and freedom. America didn't take it lightly. To many, this proud, outspoken young man was not a hero, but a threat. He was accused of arrogance, disloyalty, and disrespect, but Ali didn't flinch. He said, "I don't have to be who they want me to be. I'm free to be me." That line became the heartbeat of a generation, a declaration of independence in a country still learning what freedom meant. His identity, once mocked, became his greatest weapon. He wasn't just fighting in the ring anymore, he was fighting for self-definition in a world that wanted to define him. Then came the war. The Vietnam War was tearing America apart. Protests, divisions, and rising anger filled the streets. In 1967, Muhammad Ali received his draft notice, but he refused. His now famous words echoed across the nation.
I'm not going to help nobody get something my Negroes don't have. If I'm going to die, I'll die now, right here fighting you. If I'm going to die, you my enemy. My enemy is the white people, not Viet Congs or Chinese or Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
It wasn't just a statement, it was a stand. A moral stand against war, injustice, and hypocrisy. For that decision, Ali paid the highest price. The U.S. government stripped him of his boxing titles. He was banned from the sport at the height of his career. His passport was seized, his income vanished, and his reputation was attacked from every side. He became one of the most hated men in America, and yet one of the most respected around the world. His words still haunt the conscience of history.
I will say here boldly now on television, no, I will not go 10,000 miles from here to help murder and kill another poor people simply to continue the domination of white slave masters.
He spoke at universities, inspired young activists, and became a voice for dignity and conscience. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. supported him, saying that Ali's stand gave moral power to the entire civil rights movement. Even Malcolm X, once his mentor and later estranged ally, had seen in him a symbol of faith and courage. Ali's struggle became larger than boxing. It was no longer about titles. It was about the soul of America. He asked the hardest question of all. What does it mean to be free in a country that changed your soul? Even in exile, Muhammad Ali's presence grew louder than ever. He was no longer fighting opponents in the ring. He was fighting ideas, prejudice, and silence itself. Ali began touring universities and communities, speaking to young people about faith, dignity, and self-respect. He reminded them that their skin was not a curse but a crown. His message was simple yet revolutionary. You lose nothing by standing up for what's right, but you lose everything if you don't. Crowds filled auditoriums just to hear him talk. Students who once saw boxing as violence now saw it as philosophy. To them, Ali wasn't just a boxer, he was a teacher, a man who showed that confidence itself could be an act of resistance. He told them, the fight is not in the ring. The real fight is for your mind. His charisma gave voice to a generation rising against segregation, inequality, and fear. As marshes filled the streets from Selma to Washington, Ali's spirit was part of the movement. He stood beside the words of Martin Luther King Jr. and the courage of countless others who demanded to be seen as equal citizens. For millions, Ali became living proof that you could speak truth and still be proud, still be beautiful, still be strong. But behind that strength was still a man paying a heavy price. He missed his prime years, the best years of a fighter's career, while waiting for justice. Every day out of the ring was a reminder of what conviction costs. And yet, he said, without bitterness, "My fight ain't just for me. It's for my people." In 1971, the story turned. After years of court battles, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned his conviction, ruling in his favor in Clay v. United States. It was a victory not just for Muhammad Ali, but for freedom of conscience, the right to stand by what one believes. And with that decision, the world's most famous boxer returned to the ring. But the comeback wasn't easy. Ali was older, slower, and had spent nearly 4 years without a single professional fight. Yet when he faced Joe Frazier in 1971, a fight the world called the fight of the century, it was more than sport. Frazier won that night, handing AA his first professional loss, but the defeat didn't break him. It sharpened him. He came back stronger, hungrier, more determined. In 1974, in Kinshasa, Zaire, came one of the greatest moments in sports history, the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali faced George Foreman, a younger, stronger champion. No one believed he could win, but Ali did what no one expected. He leaned on the ropes, absorbed the punishment, and waited. Round after round, Foreman tired himself out. Then, in the 8th round, Ali struck, fast, clean, perfect. Foreman hit the canvas. And Ali stood tall once again, the heavyweight champion of the world. 1 year later, in 1975, came the Thrilla in Manila, his third and final battle with Joe Frazier. It was brutal, beautiful, and unforgettable. Both men pushed each other beyond human limits. Ali would later say, "It was the closest thing to dying that I've ever known." When Frazier's corner stopped the fight, Ali could barely lift his arms. But he had won. He had proven that greatness isn't about being perfect. It's about refusing to quit. As the years passed, Ali's words carried more weight than his punches. He had evolved from brash young champion to humble philosopher. The same man who once declared, "I am the greatest," now spoke of service, faith, and humility. He often said, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." His journey proved that real strength comes not from defiance alone, but from growth, reflection, and love. He had once fought for victory. Now he fought for meaning. By the 1980s, time began to slow even for the fastest man alive. Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a cruel opponent that silenced his once thunderous voice. The man who had moved like lightning now trembled when he raised his hand. But even in silence, his message grew louder. He traveled to war zones, negotiated for hostages, and gave comfort to the suffering. Every gesture, every smile carried the quiet dignity of a man who never stopped giving. In 1996, at the Atlanta Olympic Games, the world watched in awe as Muhammad Ali lit the Olympic torch. His hands shook, but his spirit did not. In that moment, billions saw not weakness, but greatness, the kind that no disease, no hardship could ever defeat. Ali once said, "Don't count the days, make the days count." And he did, right until the end. When he passed away in 2016, the world mourned not just a boxer, but a symbol of moral courage. From Louisville to Lagos, from Mecca to Manhattan, people of every color and creed paid tribute. His funeral brought together presidents, kings, and ordinary people, all united in gratitude for the man who had taught them to stand tall. Today, his legacy lives in every athlete who speaks up, every citizen who refuses silence, every soul who dares to live by conviction. Ali showed that greatness isn't measured by titles or trophies. It's measured by principle, compassion, and purpose. He once said, "He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life." Muhammad Ali took every risk and gave the world everything. As the final bell of his life rang, one truth remained clear. He taught the world that true greatness is not in power, but in principle,